Hey boys and girls, I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be working on pages 118, 119, and 120. We're not going to be working on page 117 because you've actually already done this in the beginning of the school closure. Okay, so I'm going to focus on page 118. I'm going to select one page, flip over to it. Okay, so here on page 118, we're talking about Tori. She wants to use the design shown to build steps from solid blocks of wood. It wants us to find the amount of wood she needs to build the steps. Okay, so these are her steps. Step 1, step 2. For part A, it wants us to draw a line to show how you can break apart Tori's design. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight some keywords. It wants me to draw a line, so go to your picture, draw a line of where you can break apart Tori's design. Okay, and it wants you to make it into two right rectangular prisms. So those are the shapes that we've already kind of been dealing with. Perfect cubes or just stretched out boxes. So you would have to break this up, whether you choose to break it down this way, or if you choose to break it down the other way, you are more than welcome to. Just try to figure out what is the best way for you to break it up, okay? And think about what that has to do for your dimensions. My suggested tip is if you just break it down going down straight, okay? From there, after you've done that, so that would be your part 1. Your part 2 would be find your length, width, and height for each of your new rectangular prisms, okay? So once you've done that for here, think about, okay, we'll call this box 1, okay? I'm just going to put B1 or step 1 and step 2. Okay, you don't even have to write the letters there. You can call it whatever you want. And then you're going to have to go ahead and you're going to tell me, okay, the first one, B1, step 1, whatever you want to call it, or V1, volume 1, and you're going to give me those dimensions. What is my new length? Okay, so think about what is the length of this new rectangular prism? What is the width of this new rectangular prism? And what is its height? Okay, the height is pretty easy to see here. You're going to have to use this box to help you figure out the new length and the new width. The length, be careful, don't say it's 16. 16 is from here all the way to here. Once you've broken this box down this way, this is no longer a length of 16, and it's no longer a length of 16 here either, okay? You're going to have to use the top box. Over here, if this is 8, that means this is most likely 8. So if this is 8 and the total is 16, I would suggest that finding the difference between the two is most likely going to give you the length here. So if this whole thing is 16 and taking away this much is 8, that means I should be left over with 8 over here, okay? Which makes the length of this rectangular prism 8. The width over here is not going to change. If this is 8, this is 8, that's 8, this is 8 over here, okay? So that means I'm going to give you the dimensions for the first box if you choose to break it this way. The length would be 8, the height would be 8, and our height would be 4 over here, okay? And now go ahead and do the same thing for the second right rectangular prism, okay, and find its volume. What would be its length, what would be its width, and what would be its height? Fill that out over here. Then it wants you to give the volume for each one. Make sure to label. Okay, it's asking for volume. Make sure to label each of these accordingly once you get them. And then it wants you to create an equation. Remember, an equation is a number sentence with an equal sign and an answer. So tell us, what are you going to combine to put together? Because we do have two separate rectangular prisms now that we need to combine to find out the amount of wood that Tori needs to build her steps, okay? So what are you going to do to try to figure that out? And then finally, tell me the amount of wood that she needs to build. Do not forget to label correctly. And here it just says, describe how you can check your answer by using unit cubes. Okay, and we'll talk about that when we meet up today at 1 p.m. for our video conference. I'm going to slide my screen over to the next page just because this problem on the next page is still Tori. It's just showing us a different technique to solve. Okay, so it's still the steps that we have, except now it's giving you a different technique. So it says, consider the space shown above Tori's bottom step. Okay, so the space over here, consider that. Think about it. Okay, here I split it up. I split the two steps up into two separate steps, into two separate rectangular prisms, and I solved for each one and then added them together. Here it's saying don't split it up. Think about the space above here and kind of draw it out and tell me how much do I need to add to the height on this side to make it align with this one over here. So what would this height be? Again, look at the other side. If this part is 4 and the total height here is 8, what would the height need to be to make it equal to the other side? I already told you about the width. It's the same throughout. And then this height, we actually already figured it out when we were solving for the smaller right rectangular prism. So fill in these spaces, okay, for A. For B, it says if for A, it wants you to fill out these spaces and also find the volume, okay? So here you're going to find the spaces for A. It's not letting me right here. Okay, you're going to find the spaces for A, these measurements, these dimensions, and then find the volume and list it here. Over here, what I want to do is if the space and the steps are combined, okay, so if I take this empty space and I combine it with the steps, they form one whole right rectangular prism, which is true. Now I want to know what are the dimensions of this right rectangular prism? What is this entire figure's length, width, and height? Okay, and then find its volume using that information and list that here. Okay, so here I found the dimensions for the new part that we drew in, and I found its volume. Here, I listed the length, width, and height of the entire thing, okay? And I found its whole volume, the total volume. Part C says, what is the volume when you subtract the volume of the entire right rectangular prism from that new space that was drawn in? What does that new volume that you get after you subtract, what does it represent? If you notice, you might get the same answer for C that you got for problem D on the page before. Okay, it's just a different technique to find the volume of Tori's steps. Here we split them up. Here we're adding more. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open this one since it lets me draw on over here. I'm going to open this up and I'm just going to flip the pages. Okay, so I'm going to flip. We just did this. You are not going to do the check understanding on for number 1 and 2 because you actually already did that in the beginning of the school closure. We're going to flip over. You're not going to do number 3 because you already did this, but you are going to do number 4 and 5 today. And it's the same thing that we just did with Tori, okay? So here you have, for number 4, a composed figure, okay? A composed figure is it's basically a 3D shape that is not a perfect rectangular prism. So here it's asking, how can you find the volume for here? What is it? Okay, and you can use either the splitting technique, okay, and find the volume for here and the volume for here and then add them together, which I recommend for number 4. For number 5, you can do whatever you want. You can either split this however you want it, or you can fill in the empty space, solve the entire thing, solve the new space that you drew, and subtract them from one another to find the steps that you need. Okay, notice the units and remember to label correctly. Okay, we're looking for volume here. As always, boys and girls, if you have any questions, message me below on this post, and I will see you at 1 p.m. for our video conference today. Bye!